Lioness sees her old trainer after years of being apart. Her reaction is incredible. In life we will always have that someone who we treated dearly in our hearts. Sometimes that kind of bond can be shared by human and animal. That is exactly what happened with Adolfo and the Lioness, for who he had been a trainer for. After being apart for a year, the trainer decided to meet the Lioness again. He, as well as everyone who knew that story, was looking forward to seeing the animal's reaction. However, what happened next deeply shocked all the witnesses of that encounter. Adolfo was an amazing lion whisperer. He was one of the trainers who helped train a lioness since she was a cub. Somehow they have built an unexpectedly strong bond over the time of training. Adolfo has considered the lioness cub his daughter, and the two have always had that persistent connection that no one could ever imagine. One day, however, it would all change, and that change would be dramatic. The lioness cub's name was Kiara. Kiara was one of the lion cubs that Adolfo trained. He rescued Kiara after finding her in Mexico. After seeing her, he decided to bring her to a shelter and raise her. He introduced her to what she would need to know to survive. Kiara and Adolfo have learned to trust each other. Their relationship has grown to become much more valuable and worthy of love and honor. Unfortunately, that happy story had a very sad ending. Kiara's name was given to her by Adolfo in honor of the character in The Lion King. In the film, Kiara was the main protagonist. She was the princess and future queen of the Pride Lands, which had been dearly put in the reality of Kiara's life. Adolfo brought her to a wild animal reserve where he helped raise her. Adolfo considered himself to be Kiara's adoptive father, and the two formed an undeniable bond. Meanwhile, Kiara was a princess to Adolfo as well, inspired by the movie The Lion King. Kiara's name has more meanings in different languages. The Hindi translation means God's precious gift, while it means bright in Italian. All of these meanings summed up exactly what this baby cub meant to Adolfo. The trainer has treated Kiara as more than just a trainee. He treated her as if she was a precious jewel that he would always want to hold dearly. As Kiara was growing older, she progressed from a cub to an adult, which made her unable to not fit into her cage. Hence Adolfo then made the heartbreaking decision to move Kiara to a sanctuary with bigger and better facilities, transferring to a new sanctuary. Kiara was placed in the Black Jaguar White Tiger Foundation, a sanctuary that can accommodate a growing size. The foundation has always been to rescue as many wild cats as possible while providing these cats with the best possible life. As Adolfo needs to leave his job, it was such a heartbreaking moment, not only for him, but also for Kiara. Leaving Kiara apart gave him a hard time. Saying his goodbyes to her, Adolfo documented his final cuddle with Kiara. Their bond was so strong and they saw each other every single day. This was all going to change overnight. Anyhow, they needed to adapt to the new changes that would happen in their lives. As time continued, so did Kiara's growth. Kiara has grown bigger, bolder and fiercer, just like any lion and lioness could be. A year passed since she had last seen Adolfo, and many believe she would forget about Adolfo. In addition, the two would soon be strangers. They also thought that the bond formed between the lioness and trainer would fade after time. Adolfo didn't think Kiara would have forgotten him, and so developed a plan to return to the training site to reunite with the lioness. After 1 year apart, Adolfo decided to visit Kiara to see if she would still remember him. There were doubts that the lioness was going to forget about him. Adolfo had faith that their bond would prevail. He was then excited to meet his so-called daughter again. People from the facility have sent multiple warnings to Adolfo about his plans to visit Kiara. When Kiara and Adolfo were apart, Kiara had become a terrifying predator that no one dared to come close to. Like any other lioness, proximity with Kiara was menacing for anyone. Despite that, Adolfo was still willing to go close to Kiara, and he had always believed that she would never forget who he was. Paying a visit to Kiara, Adolfo and the other people in the facility has set everything in place for their reunion. On the other hand, as Kiara was hearing a familiar voice, she hadn't forgotten his voice because she got excited as soon as she heard him. She couldn't believe what she was hearing and kept looking at the door. Adolfo and Chiara shared the same excitement levels as they were nearing the time of their first meeting after being apart for a year. Chiara placed herself next to the entrance to try to get a glimpse of Adolfo. She started getting restless and looked to the door waiting for Adolfo to walk through, which alarmed the staff. The trainers were advising Adolfo not to enter the cage. They believed that he would be putting himself in extreme threat. However, Adolfo has always had that solid courage to contact Chiara, because he has also missed her just like how Chiara does. With all the courage and strength that he had, Adolfo entered the cage bringing all his faith with how strong his bond with Chiara was. Upon entering the enclosure, he dropped all his fears to Chiara, as the lioness jumped on top of him and gave him a big cuddle. This was shocking and unexpected, not only to Adolfo but also to all the staff who witnessed a reunion. After all, his bond with Chiara was more substantial even after the trainers cautioned him that this was a bad idea. The two have waited such a long time to meet again. Finally, now that the long wait is over, Adolfo's love for Chiara got the best of him. Chiara was so overcome with excitement that she tackled him to the ground. She lunged into Adolfo's arms as soon as she saw him. She recognized him even before seeing him. She remembered his voice. Their bond was still very much present and incredibly strong. It was such a beautiful moment to capture, having second-guessed at first. Because of the cautions that the staff in the facility had given him, Adolfo also grew fears as he was preparing to open the cage door. He feared that Chiara might not remember him and attack once the cage door opened. Predators can act unexpectedly, and Chiara growling and pacing was a scary sight for him, but then there wasn't any hesitation in Chiara's actions. Chiara didn't stop embracing Adolfo as she didn't let go of her dad.